Hi everyone, it's Richard here from the UK. I'm going to talk to you today about the IELTS speaking part of the exam. It consists of 3 parts, and there's a certain level you need to achieve, a certain band, which I have up on the slideshow as we speak. It is band 6 and 7, so it's in between these two that you need to be able to achieve this, to be able to go to a UK university or further education establishment in order to pursue your next stage on your life's journey of studying. So if we go through this, band 6, it looks at fluency and coherence, lexical resource, which is your vocabulary, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. So that's what the key elements are for you to achieve when the examiner is trying to find out how your English is and at what level it is. So you have to remember that fluency and coherence is pretty high up there. You need to make sure that you can speak, try not to repeat yourself, try not to repeat yourself, try not to repeat yourself, because the examiner doesn't want to hear this. They want to see that you flow from one point to the next, or from what you're trying to say, that you continue in a proper format. They are very keen, if you make a mistake, that you self-correct yourself. This shows a really good understanding of what you need to say and how to say it. And like with everything, everybody makes mistakes. So it's always good to do. The hesitation, they're trying not to stop like that for lots of times. They might let 1 or 2 go, but after that, it won't look good. So just need to make sure that this is what you do. Vocabulary, the lexical resource, you need to have a wide enough vocabulary. So that's quite a lot of different words to be able to discuss the topics at length and make meaning clear in spite of the inappropriacies, generally paraphrases successfully. So this is what you have to do. So you have to talk about, so when they ask the question, you must talk about it. You must not just say yes, no, a one-word answer, a very simple sentence. You must go into more detail about why, how, if, what, when, dependent on the question they ask. You can practice as much as you like in front of a mirror, or practice as much as you want with somebody else, talking in English about the certain topics that we'll go on to. But do not try and memorize any of the question answers, or try not to create an answer and write it down and then try and remember it, because they could ask you, there's a long list of questions to ask and you wouldn't be able to remember all of it. And trying to remember something verbatim, so word for word, that you've written down is very difficult. And the examiner will see this, and it will come across that you've actually tried to memorize it and you're trying to create a question, an answer to a question that's already been done for you. This will not work, and they will mark it very low. So to achieve between a 6 and a 7 it has to flow. The examiner has to see that you can think and talk about a topic that they've given you. Okay, and then pronunciation, you have to show that you can pronounce the words correctly, that the structure is correct in how you're saying things. And we'll go further into it now, and we'll see how that looks. Okay, so if we move on to the next slide. So the IELTS is speaking part 1. The first part is a face-to-face question, face-to-face questions with the interviewer, which is based on 12 questions and 3 topics. These are about yourself, your life, and your country. Yeah, there's a whole list of stuff that the examiner can ask you, from childhood, clothes, computers, daily routine, dictionaries, evenings, family and friends, flowers, food, going out, happiness, hobbies, etc., etc., etc. This is why trying to create questions and memorize them will be very difficult, because what will happen is that you will write a question on family and friends, and you answer lots of different things, and you have some great answers to say, and the examiner asks you about your favorite food and not your family and friends. So it's really important not to get questions prepared and answered. It's best to learn the type of question and what they're looking for in the answer. So here's one of the common things that they will ask you, and it's like, where is your home? Do you live in a house or a flat? Who do you live with? Are there many rooms in your home? What is your favorite room? How are the walls decorated? What would you change about your home? Do you plan to live there in the future? What facilities are there near your home? What is your neighborhood like? And do most people live in houses in your country? So these are the type of questions that they're going to ask. Now, the perfect scenario for part one, well, for all of the speaking, is that it should come across as if it's two people having a conversation, and not like a question, where is your home? My home is in a street. Yeah, it's that isn't a conversational type of reply. Is where is your home? Oh, my home is in the north of the country. I live in a great big city called, and it's really big because there's over 100,000 people live there, or it has 3 train stations, an airport. It's really big. It's very green on the outskirts, but very industrialized in the center. Lots of high-rise buildings. This is type of the thing you need to say. Do you live in a house or a flat? I live in a flat. Yeah, I live in a flat because whatever the reasons are, I like the flat because it's yada, yada, yada. It has great views over the city or over the area. I live on the 8th floor, 1st floor, 2nd floor, 5th floor, 9th, whatever it is. So you can't just say I live in a flat. You have to give a bit more reason, a bit more information about it. Who do you live with? Oh, I live with my family. I live with my mum, my dad, my 2 brothers, my sister. We all have different rooms. In fact, my sister and I are so close, we share a room together, and it works really well. My mum and dad are fantastic. The best part of living with them is that we all sit down and have dinner together. Are there many rooms in your home? Oh, we have, there's 3 bedrooms, a dining room, a kitchen, 2 bathrooms, a toilet. Yeah, so there's 7 rooms altogether. Yeah, what is your favorite room? Oh, my favorite room is the dining room, and that's because it's the best time to sit with the family, talk, discuss our day, our problems, our issues, anything we want to get off our chest. It's a really enjoyable time spending it with the family and seeing what everybody's done that day and what we can do to help each other going forward. Yeah. How are the walls decorated? Well, in my room, the walls are decorated with wallpaper that looks like superheroes, this type of thing. What would you change about your home? Oh, I think I'd probably like to be on the top floor of a block of flats because then the views would be amazing and nobody would be above us. Yeah, and this would make fantastic to look out in the morning when I wake up. If it's a house, is there anything you'd like to change about your home? I wish we had, if I could choose anywhere, I'd probably like to get rid of the patio and put more grass there and maybe a vegetable patch, and then I can grow my own vegetables at home, things like this. Do you think you'll live there in the future? This is a good opportunity to talk about when whether you're going to stay in your parents' flat, if it's your own place. Is it just the stepping stone for something bigger so that you can move on to a bigger place as your work progresses, as you progress through work? You can talk about that. What is your neighborhood like? So this is talking about the surrounding area. If there's parks, if it's greenery, if there's a lot of traffic, if there's a lot of families living there, if it's professionals, if it's individuals, if it's an older generation, a younger generation. These are the type of things. And do most people live in houses in your country? That could be the question from your answer to do you live in a house or a flat? So whichever it is, then you can explain, well, the culture in my country is that it depends. There's not a lot of houses in the centre of the town that I live in. So people that live close to the city centre are mainly in a flat, whereas as you go further out of the city centre to the outskirts or more rural areas, they live in houses because they like the space and it's more value for money. These are the type of things you need to say. So the next one is all to do with work. Work is another common question that they ask you. So what is your job? So you have to explain what your job is. What do you do? Where do you do your work? So do you have to go somewhere? Do you have to go somewhere and then go visiting people or to visit other places? Can you work from home? Are you allowed to do a bit of both? So these are things that you need to talk about in order to fulfill the requirements of what the examiner is looking for. Why did you choose that job? Another great question. You could, from here, you could bring in things from, well, my studying was all aimed at these areas, and this is what I've gone into, and I really enjoy this, or I'm really passionate about continuing my journey in work that relates directly to my degree or to my studying. You can talk about all this. Is it a popular job in your country? This is what you'll have to talk about, if it is or it isn't. Do you like your job? Yes. No, you can't just say yes, because that doesn't tell the examiner anything about your ability to communicate with them on this question. So whatever it is, you'd have to say, yes, I love my job. I'm very passionate about helping people and making them achieve their dreams and to take them on to the next stage of their journey through education or to a better job. So this is mine. So you have to think of your own. Do you get on well with your colleagues? Another yes or no answer will not do. Yes, my colleagues are fantastic. We all work together as a team. And I find that if we work together and we are friendly together, we achieve so much more. Productivity is better. The atmosphere in the office is great. The atmosphere in the organization is better. These are all things you need to look at. What was your first day like? Fantastic question to be asked that. You'd be able to remember that. You'd be able to talk about your experience, how you felt, the emotions, the satisfaction at the end of the day once it was over. You got through the first day, you were looking forward to the next day, all these type of things. What responsibilities do you have? What responsibilities do you have at work? So you can talk about exactly what you do, what your responsibilities are. I'm in charge of, I look after the photocopying, which is an important job because it makes sure that everybody gets information. So then when they needed it, I've learned to use the machine. So I've learned a new skill. I make sure that all the senior managers get a copy of what they want so that everybody's ready for any meetings they go into. So this is all type of good. If you had a chance, would you change your job? What a great question for anybody to answer. You could say yes, or you could say no. No, I wouldn't, because the job I do at the moment is exactly where I want to be at this time in my life, yeah, or this time in my career. These are quite good. Do you plan to continue with your job in the future? Do you? You might not. You might want to change. You might diversify. You might diversify. You might go from one thing to another. You might decide that this is the area I'd like to work in, but I don't want to be specifically doing that. I want to go into this particular sector in the same industry. So you can talk all about those type of things. Excuse me. Okay, study. So these are all the types of questions you will be asked again to go through. What do you study? Where do you study that? Where do you study that? Why did you choose that subject? Is it a popular subject in your country? Do you like that subject? Do you get on with your colleagues? What was your first day like? It's all the same type of things, but related to the choice of subject and where you studied. So again, you just make sure that you can answer this. The good idea is to do what I'm doing, is to read them and practice some answers about answering these questions. In front of a mirror is good. Be able to hear yourself. Always speak out loud and not just in your head, so that you can see how it's coming across. It's always good. Yeah, and hometown. Where is your hometown? Do you like your hometown? Do you often visit your hometown? What is your hometown like? Have you left your hometown maybe? Do you want to return there someday when you're older with a family? These are all the questions that you could have. You know, has it changed since you were there before? There's lots and lots of great questions here and great answers to say in response to them. But please make sure you practice. There's only 3 rules in making sure you understand this. The first one is practice. The second one is practice. And the third one is practice. Always, always practice speaking English as much as you can. Okay, the second part of the IELTS is all about a list of common topics that the examiner has, and it's called the talk. What will happen is you sit face to face with the examiner for 3 to 4 minutes. They will give you a subject to talk about, yeah? And it'll usually be describe something. And you'll have a minute to prepare it. And then the examiner will say, right, your time's up, please begin. And then you have to start speaking as soon as the examiner lets you know when to begin, yeah? And it's all about you. It's all about stories about you or things about you that they know or that you can talk about. For example, here you go. Describe a piece of art you like. If you like art, describe a piece of art you like. It might be one of these. If not, think of something, some art that you might like something famous, like the Mona Lisa, the Scream by, the painting, Van Gogh painting, sunflowers, anything. It might be a sculpture, Henry Moore sculpture, could be Michelangelo, the Sistine Chapel roof, all these, think of things. It could be something modern, it could be a Banksy, it could be anything. If you can't think of anything, it wouldn't be good to say, well, I'm not really great. I don't want to describe any art because I don't like it. So you'd have to make it up if they ask you a question that you don't know, but I'm sure they'll do something that you will know. And then the questions are what the work of art is. So you'd have to describe what the work of art is in detail. So describing words, this large sculpture of The Thinker by Rodin. It's an amazing piece of sculpture, a historical piece. It is something I first saw in a book. But then I went to the whatever museum and I saw it in person, and its presence moved me. It was so beautiful. The skill and the way it looks is beautiful. What do you know about it? So Rodin sculpted it in whatever year or whatever you know about it, and explain why you like it. I like it. I love this piece by Rodin. It's just perfect. It's smooth. The lines are exquisite. They flow like water. It's all. These are the type of things you need to do for this type of question, a describing question. Describe a book you have recently read. This is more of a likely one that most people will have done, I would have hoped. Reading a book is great, especially if you can read either books in English. They'll help you with your vocabulary and your spelling and your sentence structures. This is really good for anybody at any age. You can use reading babies' books or children or young children's books to help you with your English. This is, I used this technique when I was trying to learn a foreign language. I got the books that they would use for babies, for like 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, to help me understand the language, because it was simple forms of the language and there was pictures, so I knew what they were talking about, but I didn't actually know the word without seeing it, so it really helps. So it's the same type of thing, what kind of book it is, what is it about, what sort of people would enjoy it, and explain why you liked it. There could be some follow-up questions from there. What kind of book is it, or what is it about? So say, for example, it's a book by this author. It's about a ex-major in the police, in the army, who's now left, but gets entangled into various different things on his journey across America. It's action-packed, and there could be follow-up questions of, is there anything else other than action in it? Is it got a good storyline? Is it any romance in there, or is it just violence and action? Is there any thinking behind it? Is there other characters? Is there a special character you like? Is there other characters that come in and out but are regular throughout the book? There could be various different follow-up questions, but this is quite a good question to have a go at answering. Describe a piece of advice you recently received. So this is another, this will be more work-based, or it could be personal. Somebody advised you in the family when you were all sat around the dining table and you said, look, I'm really struggling with this. Has anybody got any advice? And they tell you, they give you your advice, so you'll be able to answer this. When this happened, who gave you the advice? What the advice was? And explain how you felt about the advice. So this is an emotional question. Explain how you felt about the advice. Well, it really helped me. I felt much more positive after we talked through these type of things. Really good solid stuff. And then a hobby. I'm sure that everybody has a different type of hobby. Like I asked somebody this morning and their hobby was shopping. Excellent. What kind of people do it? How is it done? Explain why you think it's interesting. So some people might like, I play chess, I read books, I do martial arts, I play sport for a local team, I like to watch sport, and I'm very interested in the statistics. So this is my hobby. I like to look at the statistics of how many games a team have won, who scored the most goals, have they scored more going away from home, or have they scored more at home? So it's all about this type of thing. Okay, and then the final part of the IELTS speaking is part 3. This is a discussion with the examiner, 4 to 5 minutes. Yep. The examiner will ask a broad range of questions based on the topics that you had in speaking part 2. The questions require you to expand your answers further with explanation and examples of the world in general. The examiner will strictly control the time. Remember, look, 4 to 5 minutes. It's a long time, 4 to 5 minutes, when you're talking and having questions at you, but it will go very quickly. Yeah. So, for example, let's have a look at education. Yeah. So what makes a good student? So talk about this. What role should the teacher have in the classroom? Do you think computers will one day replace teachers in the classroom? How has teaching changed in your country in the last few decades? What is the difference between the way children learn and the way adults learn? How can a teacher make lessons for children more interesting? Now, all these questions are good openers for the examiner. The examiner could ask, what role should the teacher have in the classroom? Now, dependent on your answer, there could be follow-up questions, There could be follow-up questions. There could be questions related to other people in the classroom. So not just the teacher, to the support teachers or the teaching assistant. What's their role? Is it different from the teachers? So there's various different combinations. So I would make sure that if this is a question you get, or if it's something where there's all these types of different things, where you're comparing different things, that you're able to talk about it and bring other things into it from other areas. For example, has teaching changed in your country in the last few decades? Well, yes, in the last few decades, we've gone from writing on a whiteboard or a chalkboard to interactive boards. Now, what that means is that interactive boards bring more opportunities in learning, because you're able to link it to the internet with videos, to other people telling you about things, able to draw better, able to highlight things better. It improves communication between the teacher and the students. It's revolutionized the classroom, because these now can be used at home and if students aren't available to come into school. So various different things you can use. The media and the news. So these are, as it says, stuff that you read in the newspaper or see on social media or see online. How has TV changed our lives? Great question. Has it changed our lives, or has it made it worse? Have we become more lazy because of TV? Do we not do as much as we used to? Do we just sit and press buttons to change the channel? Do we watch normal TV anymore? Or are we more interested in watching Netflix and other streaming services? All great questions here. Are all people on TV famous? Brilliant question. And another one, clothing. This will be the last example I give you. So, can clothing tell you much about a person? Why do some companies ask their staff to wear uniforms? So these are the type of things you have to be prepared for questions. Now, you can practice these as many times as you like, but don't forget that this might not be the question. It might be something else, but it'd be related to what they asked you in question 2, in part 2. So just have that in mind, bear that in mind all the time, and try and research or do more than is necessary when you're looking at trying to formulate answers or trying to store information in your head so that you're able to pick on that information when needed. And finally, I've just created some top tips for you to really think about going forward. So speak some English every day. It's vitally important to speak English every day, because what happens usually is, as students, we speak in our own language all the time, and then for that hour where we have English in the day, in the week, we suddenly revert, we try and speak English, and it becomes much harder to switch from one to the other if we've not practiced it for so long for the rest of the week, and we're only practicing it for that hour. So try and practice English every day. Ask the examiner the meaning of a word if you don't know it in a sentence. So if it asks you something and there's one particular word, you can ask the examiner to explain that. However, you cannot ask the examiner to explain the whole question or ask him about the majority of the words in the question. One question, yes, because it's like you're having the whole point of the question and answers is that it's a conversation you would have with a friend when you're going out, or talking about what they've done that day because you haven't seen them, or what they've done that week because you haven't seen them for a long time. So it'd be that type of a question and answer flowing type of scenario. It takes some students between 10 to 15 minutes to warm up before they are ready to do the test. So I would suggest, or whichever you feel the most comfortable with doing, like 24 hours before the test, start to speak and write and think and read in English as much as you can. So you're preparing your body during the night when you're asleep. Your subconscious is thinking English. And then in the morning, start again in the morning with breakfast. Start asking, talking to people in English. Another good tip is to, if you want to pick a room one day and just start sticking names of the things in the room in English on, and then start to try and formulate sentences using them, or saying, what is that used for, I think, in English, like you've got things like in the kitchen, you'd put a fridge, knife, fork, spoon, drawer, plate, cup, saucer, microwave, washing machine, cooker, bread bin, bread, food, whatever it is, stick them on so you know what they are and keep practicing. Give full answers. Yes and no are not satisfactory. This is so true. If you say yes or no, the examiner has no understanding of your ability from one word, or your vocabulary range, or anything about you. So this is definitely a no-no. Correct your mistakes. It's always good to make a mistake and then go, oh, no, it should I meant to say this. And then that way the examiner knows that you're thinking and you're capable of understanding that you've made a mistake and you know how to rectify it. So I'm sure there's many, many more top tips, but they're just a few ones that I just thought of at the time. So if anybody wants to catch me on the next one, I'll see you then. Until then, all have a great day and speak to you later.